Peace and love, family, and welcome to the Transforming Love Community Sunday service. It's good to be here with you all today. We are glad to have this platform where we're able to share concepts, ideas, principles that we believe will help transform every area of your life in terms of your direct walk with God, yes, but also in terms of your relationships, your sense of purpose, your finances, every area of your life. We want to share things with you that are going to empower you, that are going to help you be the best version of yourself, that are going to help you live in alignment with God's highest and best imaginings for you, and for you to be able to live out the bountiful, bright blessings that God had purposed for you before you admitted in your mother's womb. And so, greetings to everyone who's present today. Glad to be able to share in this love fest, if you will. Giving honor to Reverend Shaheerah, wherever she is, to everybody else who's part of the team that makes this happen. J Love, who is broadcasting, and all of you who are here today, whether you are already part of TLC or if you're checking us out wherever in the country or the world that you might be. We believe that this is a place where love is transforming lives. And we're very happy to share this study, and we learn in order to be able to express love more fully, manifested in the things that we teach and the things that we share, and the demonstrating out, the living out of that which we endeavor to impart with you. And so, peace and love to everybody who's here today. We've got a few announcements that we're going to get into. So we're already in September of 2023, and guess what's happening next month? Guess what's happening next month? You guessed it. The 26-year anniversary of Transforming Love Community. And the theme for the month of October, as well as the theme for the anniversary celebration, is high stepping into the new dispensation. And so the actual event is going to take place at the Focus Hope Conference Center on Saturday, October 7th, from 3 to 7 p.m. Now, the tickets are $55 a person. Where can you get your tickets, you may wonder? Eventbrite. Get your tickets at Eventbrite. You can access, there's a link that you can find on the Transforming Love Community Facebook page. There's a link that you can find on the transforminglovecommunity.com website. But you'll need to actually purchase your tickets through Eventbrite. Now, what if you're not able to make it? I'm not able to make it. I'm in Florida. I would love to be able to make it, but I'm not going to be able to make it. But that doesn't mean you can't buy a ticket. You might be able to bless somebody else. That's what I plan on doing. I'm going to pay it forward and bless somebody else to be able to go. Who might, be having some challenges being able to afford the ticket. So there's an opportunity for you to be able to do that as well. Again, you can do that on the on Eventbrite, which you can access from the transforminglovecommunity.com website or from the Transforming Love Community Facebook page as well. And one other last thing real quick. Everyone is asked to either wear red or at least a splash of red, to don yourself in something that is red, even if it's, whether it's your whole outfit or if it's an accessory or something. But you're asked to wear some red for that event. All right, and what else do we have going on? Well, if you are not already subscribed to the Shaheerah Stevens YouTube page, I encourage you to do that. Go to the YouTube page of Shaheerah Stevens. If you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, as well as the notifications button where you can be notified when we're going live, when there's new content that's being posted. Okay. Now, in addition to that, we've got some things going on, during the week. Tomorrow is Monday. What does that mean? That means Soak Mondays with Coach Danny Stillwell. That's going to be at noon, every Monday at noon. That's Eastern time on the TLC prayer line. All right. Where we meet God in music and prose. So that'll be on the TLC prayer line at 712-775-8968 with the passcode 750844. And then now that's what's happening on Mondays. And so in addition to that, on Wednesdays, Reverend Shaheerah will be going live, Live from the Soul. Live from the Soul. And you can check that out on YouTube as well. Now, remember what I just said just a moment ago. If you hit the notification button, you'll get a notification when we're going live, when there's new content being posted. So that's, again, reason to do that, because she's going to be going live 8 o'clock Eastern time, live, Live from the Soul. Okay. And that will be Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Now, next month, starting on Tuesday, October 10th, that's the second Tuesday in October, which is just like 4 weeks from now, we're going to be starting the study of the Max Lucado book, Before Amen. All right, that's going to be a 10-week Zoom class. That's going to be taking place at 7 o'clock Eastern time in the evening. And the Zoom ID is on the screen, 83891461901 with the passcode 986101. So definitely check that out. If you've not gotten the book already, get yourself a copy of that. All right. And all month, this month, we've been getting back to basics. Right? Sometimes it's good to get back to basics. And we've been dealing with this theme, Spirituality 101. And last week, Spencer Murray spoke on abiding in beginner's mind. I'm sharing today. Danny Stillwell will be speaking next Sunday, and then Kendra Ventura will be closing us out on the 24th, the day after my birthday. Anyway, so next Sunday, Danny's going to be speaking on establishing a center for order. Establishing a center for order. So be sure to come and check that out and be fed in the spirit. And so that brings us to this week. Like I said earlier, we've been focusing this month on really kind of getting back to some of the basics. And sometimes it can be easy for us to the place I love to hang out is in the realm of the deep. I like the deep calls to the deep, and that's where I like going. That's where I really enjoy going. But there is something that is really, really important about being able to really get established in the foundational things. Because quite frankly, if your foundation isn't solid, no matter how tall you build that building, it's not going to be able to stand. It's not going to be able to prosper. It's not going to be able to last. You've got to be built upon a firm foundation. Jesus talked about that. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. So me being someone whose nature tends to be on the intellectual side, right? And we talk about divine mind. That's a place that is certainly very easy for me to go. It's probably easy for a lot of us to go to that place. But I found that a place that God has really made a profound difference in my life is by reminding me to start with the heart. And that's what our topic is for today. You know, it can be easy to focus on the mental aspects of things, but it's very important that we start with the heart. This isn't our scripture for today, but I'm wearing a bracelet, which I wear most days. It's this copper bracelet, has Proverbs 4:23 on it, which says, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows all of the issues of your life, right? So be mindful of what's going on in your heart. Be mindful of what it is that's going on with your heart. Now that brings us to our scripture, and we'll go ahead and get into this. And so there was a situation where Jesus was teaching, and there were some folks, there were some learned people who were questioning him. And somebody asked, what's the greatest commandment? Right? And he essentially quoted Leviticus. He actually quoted Leviticus in his response. And there is a way that it was recorded in Mark. There's a way that it was recorded in Matthew. Mark chapter 12, verses 29 through 31. Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40. I'm going to kind of blend the two together. I'm going to kind of blend the two together because there are elements, in both that I think matter and are valuable. So this very intellectually minded person asked Jesus, what's the first commandment? What's the greatest commandment? What commandment is most significant? And the way that he starts out responding as recorded in Mark chapter 12 and the 29th verse says, Jesus answered him, the first commandment is, then he paused for a second. And he said, hear, O Israel, listen up and listen up carefully. He didn't go directly into the answer. He said, listen up and listen up carefully. The Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. In Matthew chapter 22, it says this is the first and great commandment. And the second one is like unto it. The second one is basically the same. It's essentially the same. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And the way that it's laid out in Matthew 22, verse 40, is on these two commandments hang all of the law and the prophets. This is the foundation upon which everything else is laid out. This is the foundation upon which you were created, upon which you were designed, upon which you are to live your life based on this awareness. If there is anything that you get from the 33 years that I've been walking on this earth, that I'm walking on this earth, this is what I want you to get. Love God with everything that's in you. Love your neighbor as yourself. For you to love your neighbor as yourself, you have to love yourself. For you to truly, truly love yourself, you have to be present to the reality that God exists within you. And so I actually botched this up a little bit. But 2 weeks ago, Reverend Shaheerah laid out these, as she was preparing us to go into the month of September in this theme of Spirituality 101. She laid out these really basic foundational principles. And in my mind, there were 5 weekends in the month of September this year. Now, the truth is that there are 5 Fridays and that there are 5 Saturdays, but there are only 4 Sundays, which I ended up coming to later realize. But what the second principle that was mentioned was, and I said I was going to incorporate that into today's message, is that we're all made out of God's stuff. That there's no separation. This is a foundational principle. This is a foundational reality. Jesus said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. The Lord our God is one. There's no separation. And because there's no separation, because every human being is made out of the same stuff that God is made out of. Not just people who look like us, not just people who think like us, not just people who worship like us, not just people who love like us, not just people who vote like us, not just people who speak the same language as us, not just people who dance like us or get into the same kind of music as us. Every human being on the face of the earth is made out of God's stuff. And because the Lord our God is one, and we're all made out of the same stuff of God, and there's no separation, love God with everything that's in you. Love yourself as an expression of God, as a child of God, as one who is made of God's stuff, and love everybody else as if they are too. Love everybody else as if they are too. Now, this isn't always easy. I'm going to let's be straight up about it. It's not always easy to operate from a tender-hearted space. It sometimes is easy for us to go into focusing on divine mind because it can be easier for us to get into a headspace that keeps us from having to deal with what's going on in our heart. Sometimes it's easy to intellectualize stuff, but if we really want to be close to God, we've got to get things right with our heart. And of course, in miracles, it opens up. The way the thing opens up, it says there is no order of difficulties in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They're all the same. And then what does it say after that? If you know it, say it out loud where you are. All expressions of love are maximal. All expressions of love are maximal. This is in the very opening of A Course in Miracles. You go down a little bit further, about 7 lines down, and it says miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. But purification is necessary first. And so we, as spiritual beings living a human experience, we exist in a world that is not always necessarily pleasant to live in. It's a world where we see that there's chaos going on, where we see that there's racism that takes place, where we see that there's injustice, where we see there are all types of expressions of something that is less than love towards women, towards melanated people, towards people who don't have, who aren't in the financial upper echelon, right? We see a lot of things that happen in this world where there's a lot of chaos and confusion that's going on. We see a lot that just, like Keith Sweat says, something just ain't right, right? We see that there is a lot of sickness and dis-ease in the world. And this month, I'm so excited. TLC, our theme for this month is Spirituality 101. But our theme, the way that we open the year up, in January, the theme was Transcending the Matrix, which I'm blessed to be a vessel through which healing modality came into the earth, referred to as Transcending the Matrix. And we're celebrating 20 years this year, at the end of this month, celebrating 20 years of Transcending the Matrix. And something that I share. I share in every class. I share in these support sessions. One of the things that I share is a thing that it's important for every healer to understand is that ultimately God is the healer. If God doesn't show up, no healing has happened. But there's nothing that's beyond God's healing power. Right? There's nothing that's beyond God's healing power. And that we can be vessels of that healing. And point 3 is that love is the tool. That love is the tool through which that happens. Right? And so I'm so very thankful that God has blessed me to be a vessel of healing in a lot of people's lives over the last couple of decades, more than 2 decades. Seen some really profound things happen, things that we will refer to as medical miracles. Seen situations where tumors disappeared, seen situations where cancer and other diseases went away, seen situations, a whole lot of situations where people have been in chronic pain and become free of that pain, seen broken bones repaired, seen body organs that weren't really functioning properly start to function properly, seen a lot of things that medicine referred to as medical miracles take place. But a thing that I frequently say is those things aren't really miracles. Similarly, Jesus walking on water or turning water into wine wasn't a miracle. Moses parting the Red Sea was not a miracle. These things are signs and wonders. And these things are signs and wonders. Signs and wonders are performed in order to get people's attention. Why get people's attention? Get people's attention so that they're receptive to the message. And what is the purpose of the message? The purpose of the message is a changed heart. That's what the real miracle is, beloved. The real miracle is a changed heart. All expressions of love are maximal. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow all of the issues of your life. Right? When Jesus was instructing the disciples on how they truly knew that they were followers of him, what did he say? Because you love each other. Because you love each other. And if we can get to this idea, it's a very basic principle. We're all made out of the same stuff of God. Jesus said, as much as you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. He was in the process of teaching and he said, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. Folk were confused. It's like, what are you talking about? When were you hungry? When were you thirsty? And I gave you, and I tended to your needs like that. He said, as much as you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. He was teaching us something. We're all made out of the same stuff of God. There's no separation in us. When you can realize that, when you realize that what you do to somebody else, you're doing to me. If you can realize what you do to somebody else, you're doing to yourself. And then operate from that. What it causes to happen is for your heart to be purified. When your heart is purified, you are in a completely receptive state for all kinds of miracles to happen in your life. Another thing it says in the Course of Miracles is when we are healed, we are not healed alone. I am so committed to this healing thing. Why am I committed to this healing thing? Because other people don't deserve to suffer from my brokenness. You think about your children. You think about your family members. You think about your friends. You think about your parents. You think about folks that love you and that you love. Are they worthy of the best of you? Yeah, there are ways in which your brokenness has presented some difficulty in their lives. Is it a result of your own insecurities and your own past hurts, that you're not able to show up with a pure heart, that you're maybe seeking to control them rather than granting them what God granted them, which is the free will to make their own decisions and to live their own life as they see fit, perhaps offering some guidance in the process. This weekend, I was watching, actually, I don't have regular TV service. I just stream like YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that. But something happened this past Thursday, and what happened is that the Detroit Lions were playing on national television against the defending Super Bowl champions, Chicago Chiefs. And they were playing it in Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know why I said Chicago. Kansas City Chiefs, and they were playing it in Kansas City. Glad to say that they actually won the game, but I didn't have a way to watch the game. I was facilitating a sports session that evening, but after that was over, I wanted to watch the game, and it was coming on NBC or on Peacock. So I ended up downloading the Peacock app. There's a reason I'm telling you this story, and just as quickly as the story came for me to start telling you, it disappeared about why I started telling you the story in the first place. I don't remember why I started telling it. There was somewhere I was going with it. Totally forgot what it was. Maybe we'll come back to it. I know it was something good too, but it just disappeared just that quickly. At any rate, we end up finding ourselves in situations. We end up finding ourselves in situations where we're dealing with stuff with people. And a lot of the stuff that we deal with people are a result of things that we brought up in people as a function of our own brokenness. When we're dealing with frustrations with a spouse or with a lover, when we're dealing with frustrations with a parent or with a child, with a sibling, with a coworker, with a person at the checkout counter at the grocery store, Karen on the street, or whatever the situation might be, there is something that profound that can happen in that moment based on how healed we are, based on what our own heart posture is, right? Based on whatever our own heart posture is, based on what purification God can bring about within our own hearts. Okay. And so I've been on this healing journey for a while, right? I started off on this healing journey as a so-called healer because I wanted to understand the mysteries of life and of my own existence. And as part of a deeper thing for me on that level. And I looked at my meaning of my name, and I was able to discern kind of my purpose in life from that. My name Royce actually means a son of the king, which is something that my late grandfather, from whom I learned to do everything in love. And love. I even order food in love. They asked me, I went somewhere and ordered some food. They asked me, what name would you like under? I said, put it in the name of love. Because anything worth doing is worth doing in what? In love. In love. And so, but a reality is I looked at my name and the meaning of my name being a son of the king, and my grandfather, my late grandfather, the same one that I'm talking about, John A. Hall. He would say to my brother Damien and I, he said, "You boys know that you're a son of the king." Nobody knew that what my name actually meant as a son of the king at the time, and my last name Thomason is derived from Thomas's son. Thomas was the disciple who needed proof through verifiable means that Jesus was risen from the dead. He needed to be able to see it. right? He was from Missouri. You got to show me, right? And that's where the Lions just defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in Missouri, as it were. There's a message for that. The Lions defeated. The Lions gained victory in the Show Me State. Those of you who would know something about astrology know that the Leo is represented by the lion, and the Leo is all about the heart, all about the heart, all about love. And so love defeated, love was the underdog, and love defeated that idea that you got to show me, you got to prove it to me. And so for a long time, I thought that the way that I came to the realization that I'm a light that shines. I'm called to be a light that shines in the darkness to reveal the presence and the authority of the kingdom of heaven, right? And I'm here to prove that to myself through verifiable means. That's when you put my first name and my last name together, that's what you get. And for a long time, I thought that the way me doing that was as a healer, because I know God to be a healer. I don't question at all if God is a healer, because I demonstrated God to be a healer over and over and over and over again, right? I participated in God being a healer thousands of times over the years of people all over the world, okay? And so for a long time, I thought the way that I prove that to myself is through the healing work. In a way, that's true, but it's not in the way that I initially thought it to be true. You know, between that first name and that last name is a middle name, and my middle name is Fletcher, which actually means feather. And it's in the context, I understand it now in the context of the Day of Reckoning as drawn on cave walls in 2500 BC in Kemet, or as some people refer to, Egypt, right? The Day of Reckoning, where divine wisdom sits atop of a throne, where divine justice leads one into the judgment chamber, and there's a scale. And on one side of that scale is a feather, and on the other side of the scale is the person's heart. And they can go on and experience the blessings of heaven if their heart is no heavier than that of a feather. So it all starts with the heart. It all starts with the heart. Jesus said in his ministry, he said, there are a lot of people who will call out, Lord, Lord. But I say, depart from me, you doers of iniquity, because I never knew you. Your heart was not close to me. You were the person who saw the person on the side of the street who was hungry and that didn't tend to them. You were the person that was me in that person. You're the person who was constantly being critical of other people, who maybe was religious, but you didn't let me really truly take over your heart, right? The only way for your heart to be light as a feather is for your heart to be purified. And what I've come to realize in this work of transcending the matrix, that everything in the matrix is all of the illusion, if you will. Everything on this side of the veil is a disguise that we on some level agreed to participate in so that we can know ourselves as the light. We've entered into a space that seems like darkness in order for us to know ourselves as the light. The way that we know ourselves as the light is when we get to a point where the light is all that we see. All things are working together for our good, the scripture says, right? Count it all joy no matter what situation you're in. As much as you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. There are people who don't think like you. There are people who don't operate like you. Men and women are totally different. There's no way that a man is ever going to figure out a woman. because our brains just don't work like that. Our brains just don't work like that. There's really no way that a woman is ever going to figure out a man because our brains just work differently. So even a spouse, a person with whom you're one, you may know a lot of things about them, but only really at the end of the day, God only knows them completely. And you can aim to get to know them better and better, but that process is a process of opening up your heart. Not just opening up your mind, but opening up your heart. Opening up your heart to be able to appreciate what another person's actual experience is. A lot of times we want to correct people. I am a recovering know-it-all. And to be honest, I don't know even how far I am in the recovery process. But I'm a recovering know-it-all. My default tendency, I'm a teacher, I'm a minister, I am a counselor, I'm a healer. And so there is a lot of me that wants to tend to go to the direction of fixing things, of educating people, of giving them information. But that might not be what a person is always needing in the moment. A person might not always be needing that in the moment. And so what God has been teaching me is to really truly listen with my heart, not just to the words that are coming out of a person's mouth, but to truly listen with my heart, to get a sense of what this person's actual experience is and what is it that they're actually needing in that moment. Not what I think they need, but starting with the heart and allowing myself to have a heart for this person and whatever it is that they're going through. For a long time, when I was well, when I was a kid, I don't know how long it was, but definitely when I was a kid, I didn't feel comfortable dealing with old people, right? Because it seemed like they were frail, and I guess on some level they reminded me of death, and so that felt uncomfortable to me. Well, I mean, I've been in the room where people have taken their last breath, and I've certainly officiated a lot of funerals, a lot of homegoing ceremonies, right? I feel much more comfortable with it now. A lot of times when people are dealing with someone who's experienced a loved one making their transition, they want to try to fix it. People feel uncomfortable with that because they don't really know what to do with it. They don't really know what to say. And what ends up happening is that they either say a lot of stuff that doesn't end up even registering with the person who's going through the pain, or they avoid the person who's going through the pain. A lot of times we want to fix it. And what's really happening is that what a person is doing is that they're coming up with a coping response to their own feelings of uncomfortability. All this stuff that you're telling somebody who's lost a loved one, you're not doing that for them. You might think that you're doing that for them, but you're not really doing that for them. You're doing that for you because you feel uncomfortable with it and you don't know how to show up. A lot of times, there's nothing that you can say that's going to make somebody feel better who's just lost a loved one. There's nothing that you can say. There's nothing, it's not your intellect that's going to help somebody feel better who's lost a loved one. You know what can be supportive of them when they've lost a loved one? Your presence. What is it that you can say that can possibly make a difference? I'm here. I got you. I'm here for you. And then act on it. Actually be there. Check on them from time to time. Not trying to solve their problem, but just being there. That's coming from a heart space, beloved. That's coming from a heart space. That's coming from a heart space. With this work of transcending the matrix, which is so important to me in my life, in so many different ways than I initially thought it was when this thing was birthed out 20 years ago. I've come to realize that really at the end of the day, it's about the purification of the heart of the practitioner. coming from a place of compassion towards the person who's experiencing the suffering, yes, but our own heart is getting purified in this process of doing this sacred work. That our own heart is being purified. Yes, the scales are being removed from our eyes, but the real thing that's happening is the purification of our heart that's taking place. And so, even in this healing work, yes, I love seeing people who are in physical pain become free of that pain. Yes, I love seeing people becoming free of health conditions that they've been struggling with. Yes, I love seeing people becoming delivered from depression. Yes, I love seeing people having their life transformed in different areas of their lives. I absolutely appreciate that. It is extremely fulfilling, but it's not the ultimate point of the work. I've been blessed to work with people from all kinds of different backgrounds, from all over the place. And what it is that there is a level of heart connection that takes place, independent of what a person looks like, thinks like, prays like, loves like, votes like, all of these different things, right? But beyond that, it's about a global peace mission for me. When a person on one side of the world can, in a spirit of love, bring about a medical miracle in the life of another person, because the God in them is somehow connected with the God in this other person, and their tumor disappears, or the pain goes away. And then it becomes less and less a thing of having to fight against people who are operating in a state of what seems like separation. I talk about this matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation. We're made out of the same stuff as God, and there is no separation. Did you get that? Did you get that? We're made out of the same stuff of God, and there's no separation. What would your life be like if the person on the street with an attitude, you crossed their path and you remembered we're both made of the same stuff, and the stuff that we're made of is God? I have these conversations in my mind with people. A lot of times I'm the only one that's privy to the conversation. But in my mind, I have a lot of conversations with people. And a conversation that I recently had, it wasn't based on me having a problem even with somebody, but a conversation I recently had. I've had this conversation with people in general, not even specific people sometimes. I've had this conversation a lot, where somebody was coming to me with an attitude, and a situation where a big part of me might want to give them a piece of my mind. And yeah, I have a peaceful disposition, and am a kind heart. But I think it's very important for people to not let the smooth taste fool them, because there is definitely a part of me that can be very raw, and it can get into somebody's behind. And I most certainly have done that before. You might not believe that about me, but it's true. Okay. And there may be times I may feel tempted to really give a person a piece of my mind, that could cut deep. And because I am who I am, things I say can cut a little bit deeper for some reason, right? And so I want to bring healing, not more pain to people. And I've come to realize that if a person is operating with an attitude, it's because they're dealing with some brokenness. If a person is presenting some negativity to me, it's because they're in a state of negativity. And so it doesn't help them for me to prove them wrong or for me to use my words, which I have a gift of, to belittle them, to make them feel less about themselves or to put them in their place, so to speak. Although I have an intellectual ability to do that, that's not the heart space I need to be operating from. That's not the heart space I need to be operating from. So many times I have this conversation inside of me where, and it's really me programming me for how to handle certain situations, where somebody come to me with an attitude, and instead of responding back, matching their energy with more negativity, I pointed out in a loving way, or I recognized that they forgot who they were. And because they forgot who they were, they forgot who I am. Believe it or not, I ain't the one. Like I said, don't let the smooth taste fool you. However, I've seen so many times engaging in this practice has helped me to actually redirect some people in some situations where people were operating in a state of fear. People had some stuff going on at home. People had some messed up stuff that happened earlier in their day, and they just didn't know the way to properly express that. And so God gave me the grace to be able to bring some light into the place of their darkness, not by fixing them, but by showing up as a different reflection of them. Reverend Shaheerah talked a lot about we only meet us, we only meet ourselves, right? And yeah, we might experience somebody bringing us some attitude. And if we show them that same attitude, they're only meeting themselves, right? Just like we're only meeting ourselves when they present that attitude to us. And it's an opportunity for us to have our hearts purified. Recognizing what's really going on here. This person, they don't know who I am. And they don't know who I am because they don't know who they are in this moment. I'm going to remind them of who I am and who they are, that being at our foundation. The essence of God is the essence of who we really are. And so I'm going to live this out to them. I'm going to remind them, and I might have to do it in a firm way. It doesn't mean I'm going to let somebody walk over me. I'll remind them, you're talking to me like this because you forgot who I am. And you forgot who I am because you forgot who you are. I'm going to tell you who you are. You are a child of the Most High God. You are love seeking to express itself. You are a product of forgiveness. You're dealing with some stuff right now. And you've experienced some pain. You've experienced some heartache. You've done something that you feel ashamed of, but that's not who you are. Who you are is forgiven. Who you are is redeemed. Who you are is loved by God. And there's nothing you can do to stop that. Now, you ain't going to just be talking to me any old kind of way, but I need you to remember who you are right now. You try that and see how somebody responds. How much attitude can they give you in response to that, right? Something is going to change in them because they're expecting you to come back at them with an attitude. They're expecting you to play out how they feel about themselves in that moment. They're expecting you to evidence that they're not worth anything. Give them something different. You'll see a miracle take place. There are people in this world that you will encounter who will not always be in the best place. And because they're not in the best place, they're going to tempt you to not be in the best place. But there is no temptation except that which is common to folks. But guess what? For every temptation that you might encounter, God has given you a way of escape. I'm sharing with you a way of escape right now. A way of escape right now. Start with the heart. Be careful and be careful of what it is that you're letting inside your heart. I've told people this on a number of different occasions. You do not have the power to irritate me. You do not have the power to frustrate me. If I feel frustrated, it's because the frustration existed within me. If I feel irritated, it's because the irritation existed within me. Now, you might be bringing up something. You might be bringing something into my path that has me dealing with this sense of irritation that has made its way to the surface in my existence. But of your own, you do not have the power to irritate me. The irritation exists within me. Thank you for giving me the gift of experiencing my irritation, because it's given me an opportunity to let my heart be purified. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. How do you get there? Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. We've got to allow our hearts to be purified. We've got to allow our hearts to be changed. It's all about what's going on in the heart when they're looking for the new king of Israel. They looked at all of these different sons. And completely wrote off the one who was destined to be the king. Check out David. I went over there tending to the sheep. Yeah, he's a little on the scrawny side. He doesn't show up to the eye like most people that you would think of for this position. But God doesn't look at folks the way that people look at folks. God looks at the what? The heart. God looks at the heart. God looks at the heart in your relationships. You might go for somebody that fits your taste, and your taste might be a function of your own dysfunction. But you might need to be looking at the heart. You might need to be actually looking at the person's heart, not at how fine they are, or whether they make you tingle in low places. But what's their heart actually like? What's their heart posture towards you? What's their heart posture towards God? Getting a sense of what a person's heart posture is concerning God will give you some indication of what their heart posture will be concerning you, right? And so when we deal with this reality of us all being one, of us all being expressions of God, and all of us forget that sometimes. If you've been coming to TOC, you've been empowered with some tools. Not everybody has those tools. I've definitely been empowered with some tools, but was I triggered yesterday? Dealing with a rude customer service person? Yes. Was it easy for me to get to the place I'm talking about right now? Definitely not as easy as other times. Right? Folk have stuff going on. That's a reality. What's also a reality is that we're all made of the same stuff as God. There's no separation. God and I came to an understanding a long time ago that every intention that anybody has towards me, good or bad, returns to them double. I just let it be. Every single intention that anyone has towards me, good or bad, returns to them double. People who seek to bless me, I see blessings unfold for them. The person who's blessed me the most financially, I see him continuing to be most exponentially blessed financially. People who have a kind heart towards me. I see them experiencing favorable experiences in that direction on their end. People who done me dirty, I've seen karma work. You know, you look on YouTube or on social media, you can see these videos of talking about instant karma, right? I've seen that happen where somebody did me wrong and the same thing happened to them very quickly after that. I don't have to wish that on somebody. It just is how it unfolds. In a similar way, I'm very clear that every intention that I have towards anyone else returns to me double. I invite you to take this in as your reality. That you don't need to seek evil for evil. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not envy, it's not proud, it does not boast, it's not self seeking. It's not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, it does not delight in evil. All right? Don't delight in bad things happening to other people. Still have compassion for them. Want them to get it right. The reality is, we're all going through our own thing. The more we can remember that, the more we can operate in alignment with the heart of God. The more you recognize every intention you have towards anybody else, for good or for evil, for good or for ill, returns to you double. It helps to purify your heart more. Helps you to keep your heart in the right space. And so I'm going to ask for all of us right now to just breathe in into our heart, a feeling of love, the light of God's love into our hearts. As we exhale, exhale the light of God's love out from our hearts. So the love is all that we're breathing in. And all God, in this moment, as we enter into this heart, we ask you to come into, ask you to come into our heart and take up full residence. Places where we have pain there, where we're experiencing heartache. We're asking you to give eviction notices to the places in our heart where we might carry pain, where we might carry bitterness, where we might carry resentment, where we might carry anger and hatred, where we might carry the desire for revenge. Where we might carry insecurity and where we might carry fear and any other low vibrational feeling. We pray that you come into those spaces and replace them with the light of your love. Purify our hearts, God, that we might experience ourselves and that other people might experience us as a walking mirror. Heal our hearts as well as our minds, God. Help us to love as if we've never been hurt before. Help us to have compassion towards other people as well as ourselves. Help us, God, to align our hearts with you and to truly be a living miracle. Knowing that even as our hearts are healed, that we're not healed alone. That you empower us then to be in a space where we're operating in such a state of wholeness, such a state of atonement or at one-ment with you, that other people are healed in our presence. Thank you, God, for calling us to healing, for allowing us to bear witness to the healing you're doing in us and the healing you're doing in others. For this, God, we give great thanks. In Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name and the nature of Jesus the Christ, we thank you. Thank you, God, for this gift of your divine love. Ashe and Amen. Well, beloved, let us, as we go forward in our week this week, and we encounter the people that we encounter, may we remind ourselves that we're made of the same stuff as God. And the other people we're interacting with are made out of the same stuff as God. Let us be mindful of how we're allowing God to be treated. And let us be mindful of how it is that we're treating God. If you feel like you've been blessed by this message today, if you feel like you've been blessed by this ministry, this transforming love community, where love transforms every area of your life, we invite you to sow into this work, which is really what sowing into you, sowing into your own growth. The beautiful thing about when you sow seeds, the fruit always comes back greater than the seed. And if you'd like to sow seeds into this place that is transforming love community, then you might be able to bear more fruit and be nourished by that fruit. We encourage you to sow into this place. You can do so through a variety of ways. You can go to the transforminglovecommunity.com webpage, and you can give via PayPal or through Givelify. Or Givelify. You can also do so on Cash App at $TLC Heals 01. TLC Heals 01. Isn't that a nice play on words? Yeah, you can experience love and transforming love community because tender loving care heals. Yes. And so as we prepare to leave this place, may the circle be unbroken. May we live in an awareness of oneness in our minds as well as in our hearts. May we know that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Because of that, all is well. God bless you. Love you, family. As Horace Lindsay would say.